Okay, so we have another example here, 12x squared minus 46xy plus 40y squared. Once again, you always want to be on the lookout for a common factor. If you kind of remember the problems when we factored the x squared plus bx plus c form, having that y and y squared on there isn't going to make a huge difference to the problem. We'll see that as we work through the problem. The y's are just going to tack on to the end of our answers. But first, look for a common factor. They're all even, so we can pull out a 2. In fact, I'm going to ask you to pause the video right here and use this problem and the next one as kind of a little challenge to yourself to see where you're at. And try to work the problem out all the way. And then you can kind of unpause it, and if you're stuck, get some help that way. So, as we now look at the variables, x squared and x, but no x in the last one, so we can't pull that out. Same thing with the y. It doesn't show up in each. So the only thing we can take out is a 2. When we do that, we're left with 6x squared minus 23x plus 20, or sorry, xy plus 20y squared. Okay. Again, that 2 I'm going to kind of forget about for a little bit. Draw a little arrow to remind myself of it later. And so I look at my product, 6 times 20. So now I'm going to be looking at ones that are a little bit bigger, things that multiply to be 120. And they have to add to be a negative 23. So start looking through your factors of 120 until you find a pair that adds to be negative 23. After a little bit of searching, you'll come that 8 and 15 add to be 23, but you need them to be negative, so you can do negative 8 and negative 15 as your pair of numbers. Once we found the pair of numbers, we can rewrite our middle term using those two numbers. And again, that's an 8xy and a 15xy and a 20y squared. Alright, and then we can do our grouping. 6x squared and 8xy. We can pull a 2x out of both. That will leave me with 3x minus 4y. 2x times 3x minus 4y. Again, bring the negative sign down for the third term. We have 15xy and 20y squared. We can pull a 5 out of both, and we can pull a y out of both. Always be careful to make sure you're factoring everything out that you can. And again, because that's negative, we pull out, because that's negative, we have to change the sign there on that fourth term there. So that's going to become 3x minus 4y as well. We can then pull out the 3x minus 4y. And we have our 2x minus 5y left over. And then don't forget about the 2 that we took out at the beginning. And now we have our answer. Okay, one final example of this type of factoring. So the first thing we notice in this example here is that it's kind of out of order. It's kind of out of order. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your polynomial is written in the order that we're used to seeing it in. Right. And again, now I encourage you to pause the video and try to work this out on your own. So remember, once we have it in that format, we want to take the product of the squared term and the number term. One thing I left out here is there is no common factor, so we can't pull anything out here. So we have a negative 18. And so we need things that multiply to be negative 18 and add to be negative 7. If you need a little help on that step, take a moment and think about what numbers would do that. The two numbers that we're going to need are a positive 2 and a negative 9. So we replace the minus 7x with those two numbers. Again, you can actually write that down in either order. So you could have done minus 9x and then plus 2x if you'd wished. And then we do our factoring by grouping. So 6 and 2, we can pull out a 2x. And we're left with 3x plus 1. Bring down the negative sign. We have a 9x and a minus 3. We can pull out a 3. Again, it's negative, so that's going to change the signs to 3x plus 1. And then we pull out the 3x plus 1 out of both to get our answer. 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 3. Okay, good luck as you're working on factoring problems of this format.